Where everybody tells me I look like I'm fucking 30 and I'm really 24, dude.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm experiencing the whole opposite fucking spectrum of it.
Literally. I have people that like, they'll ask me, it's like, how old is he? I'm like, dude, we're the same age.
It's fucking embarrassing.
You're like, chill.
Like, what the fuck?
Wow, I can't.
I think it's just the facial hair, bro, honestly.
You're tall too. You're like a big dude.
I feel like I have like that like dad bod fucking build. So I gotta get fucking right, dude. Like since then I've been motivated, bro.
Excuse my allergy, guys. If I'm like just, cause dude, all right. So I've been good. Usually I have allergies, but I've been good lately. But I just went on like a run earlier, and usually I run, but I just wanted to see like what my mile time was. So I just did a mile, and dude, after that it just like triggered this crazy like. Allergy attack, dude. Yeah, it was crazy, but man. So where do you train at?
For kickboxing and MMA, it's mostly Elite Kickboxing Academy.
Oh, so you know Vic?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Vic's a good friend.
That's our boy.
Yeah, and then what episode are you guys on now?
Episode 48. So we're coming up on
50.
We've been doing it for like a year and a half.
Yep.
At first it was a little inconsistent, but as soon as we just started getting more consistent as the time went on, and it started like picking up a little bit of steam here locally. So
yeah, that's cool.
Good, man.
Yeah, I think I've seen some clips with Vic, and I think have you had any other fighters on? I feel like I recognize the background, but it might have just been from Vic's.
For sure, Vic was the first one. I want to say you're the second one, bro. I don't think we've had.
You like it?
Yeah, it's cool. I try to run a podcast I did with a couple of friends for probably like 50 episodes too.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was the same. We were having some like kind of like local entrepreneurs and interesting people, and it was fun.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool. Actually, still like it's benefited me even in like my business ventures to this day. So like some of the people I met, it's pretty cool.
Nah, dude, we've met a lot of people just through doing the podcast.
Yeah, it's
That's
cool.
how we made a lot of like really good connections. And Are you from El Paso?
Yeah, I'm originally from here. Are we gone? I don't know.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, we're rolling. We're lit.
Yeah,
that's all right.
We're here.
No, yeah, I'm originally from here. I was born and raised here in the Northeast. Actually, I went to Irvine High School.
Hell yeah.
And then I went to college out in Austin, so I was there for like 6 years, give or take a year. Yeah, probably like 6 years, a little over. And then I moved back over here in 2017.
Wow. Okay.
And I've been here since then. Really, I had a kind of a half a year in Arizona after this happened, but then been here pretty much.
Yeah, for sure. And so we're sitting here with Juan Gandara, which is really your jack of all trades. It seems like, bro. I mean, MMA fighter. I saw that you dive as well. You're a diver.
Yeah.
You own your own. Is it body shop?
Yeah, it's both. We do collision repair, mechanical repair. Opening up a performance department soon. We're doing a pretty neat restoration / LS swap right now. That's driving me crazy, but it's gonna be really neat when we get.
So
it
you
done.
do like custom work too?
Yeah,
you do project work and stuff.
Yeah. We're getting into it because the bread and butter of it is repair. Getting vehicles back on the road, daily drivers. But the fun stuff that kind of gets views on YouTube and Instagram and stuff is the stuff you could advertise cool cars with big engines,
Right. Project
sure.
cars.
Have you always been like a car guy?
Yeah, it's in my whole family's, between my cousins and uncles and dad, we probably have like 10 shops throughout the city.
Wow.
They're not, mine's like my last name, Gandara Auto, and my father's too, but
sounds familiar. Where is it at?
There's 2 in the Northeast, and then it maybe sound familiar because although the name isn't, my uncle's shops aren't Gandara's, the name wise, they own it, they're all Gandaras, so.
Got you.
Or it may be like we had the infamous other Gandara family that had a little bit of a little scene with politics, but they're kind of in drugs, I think. So,
like local politics?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
We always get, everyone asks me if I'm part of that family, and I think they're lying when I say I have no idea who they are.
That's wild.
Where the car Gandara.
Do you know what happened with that? I don't even know. I've never even heard of the Gandara.
Willie Gandara. I guess if you Google him, you'll probably find some stuff. But I think they had issues with like money, in politics that probably wasn't going to the right place, something like that. And then also just part of I don't know if it's the same family or there's a whole nother kind of debacle with drug money and so I'm pretty sure there's like, if they're not related, then there's two, like a political one with scandals and then a drug one with scandals.
Damn, we got to look into that, bro.
It's kind of
do a little deep dive on that. So yeah, man, you grew up here in El Paso. What was like kind of like your life like growing up? Like do you have siblings and?
Yeah, I got a brother and a sister, and then a big family. My pops has 8 siblings. My mom has 5 siblings. So, so on either side, a big family. My mom's side was Jehovah's Witnesses, so that was kind of weird, a little bit strange. But my dad's side is definitely the more lively, typical party Mexican family. Big family, always kind of something to do. Always someone's birthday on the weekend, and very typical, a lot of fun. We're still very close, most of my cousins and I, it was fun, man. I really enjoyed my childhood and every stage really of my growing up. I know some people hated their middle school, high school years, all that, but I had a good time, and I'm still having a good time.
Wait, what middle school did you go to? Because you said you graduated from Irvin.
Yeah, I went to McGoffin Middle School, which was kind of I had fun, like I said, but I definitely got in a lot of trouble around that time. I would always be in one mess or the other.
Oh, we know, bro. And then during that time, that was like when the rivalry was a little bigger with Andrus and Irvin too. So that shit used to get bad, dude, back in the day.
Especially with the little gangsters and cholos and stuff.
So what'd you mainly do growing up?
I was a soccer player first and foremost, like from probably like 8 years old to maybe 14 is when I started really kind of boxing. I started kind of playing with it. Within a month, I had my first boxing fight just because my coach was kind of crazy. And
he just threw you to the wolves.
Yeah, pretty much. And I won, which I think set a precedent to like kind of liking the sport. Maybe if I would have lost, I'd have been like, screw that.
And what made you want to start fighting?
Initially, it kind of goes back to just being a bit of a troublemaker. And I remember we got in a fight with our soccer team. Like a big our team against their team. And we got our asses handed to us. But me and my cousin Javier, we were just going, and one of my brother's teams, who my brother's like 4 years younger than me, one of his coaches or his teammates' dad was a boxing coach, and he invited me and a couple other kids to go box, and I took him up on the offer, and like I said, within a month he had me boxing. So
damn.
So it was fun. My mom went to that first fight, and then she never went again to another fight.
Damn.
So this was in high school.
Yeah, to this day. This was my freshman year of high school. Yeah, because I was 14, so it must have been my freshman year.
Did this kind of how do you say it? Did this go? Did this feed more into the fights outside of school, or did you find or in school, or did you find yourself like kind of like just be like just boxing and that was it?
Yeah, you know what? I felt like I got in more fights before I like learned how to fight. Surprisingly enough,
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's a discipline aspect to it for sure, and but I never thought I was like a good fighter. Even it's probably like my. There was definitely. I guess we can get to it, but there was a point where like well into my training that I was frustrated because I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And there was like a moment where my kind of mentality switched, and then I became a much more confident fighter. But before, like, we're talking 9th grade of high school when I first started boxing, really from then until maybe the next 6 years or so, my fighting, I had more wins than losses for sure, but I wasn't just killing it, and so I was actually kind of insecure about it, about my skill set and maybe how far I could get with it, and so I think because of that, I wasn't really just fighting all the time. I wasn't walking around with my chest up or anything.
Do you feel like it's a physical thing for you or mental?
I mean, both. Your body has to be ready.
Yeah.
You know, if you're gonna go to the big leagues, which that's not my goal at this point. I'm just trying to have some fun, get some highlights on my reel.
Well, you sure fucking are doing that, bro.
Yeah, but if it was my goal, I mean, your body has to be ready for sure. But you know, like strong, powerful, fast fighters are a dime a dozen. It's really a mindset that is more rare to find in fighters that I see is what differentiates you. Because especially right now, the sport is huge.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's going to be a ton of fighters that are that have nutrition coaches, that have good striking coaches, good grappling programs, all this. And all that is important. But even within those within that realm, you'll have a lot of fighters who have everything within them, all the tools physically, for them to be the next superstar, but there's at least in my opinion, there's something that's missing, which is a kind of certain, you toe the line between confidence and arrogance, really, to, in my opinion, to be like a great fighter. There's a few, you know, that aren't in that direction. So I'm thinking like Conor McGregor's a arrogant, confident fighter.
Yeah.
He does very well when he believes he can win. Like when he really, there's no doubt in his mind that he can win, that's when he does well. And then there's fighters like GSP, who's also great, who is like a nervous wreck. And that kind of helps him perform. So,
that's
you
crazy.
know, it's not like one formula, one rule, but I find that I performed the best when I was being kind of maybe cocky, arrogant.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna ask, is there a sort of, obviously there's nervousness. Is there a sort of almost like fear when you're in the ring too, like when you first start?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I meant. Like when I started, like for example, by the time I did my first MMA fight, I had already had 8 boxing fights. I had won 5 or 6, and I had lost 2 or 3. I can't remember exactly, but I had lost to the same guy twice or 3 times. I can't remember.
Decisions, or you were getting
decisions? Yeah,
okay.
And in boxing, it always went to decision in boxing. So by the time that I had my first MMA fight, I had already had both losses and wins. And at that time, I was still pretty nervous. I would get my first MMA fight, I lost like in a minute.
Damn.
I got taken down and choked out. Actually, there's more to the story though. I still think I would have lost, honestly, just because the kid had more experience than me. But I actually, a week before that, I tore my right nut, my right testicle.
Whoa, dude. How does that happen?
Rolling or?
I took a knee to it. So I was just kind of shadow boxing with one of my coaches, the great Toby Imada. Actually, if you look him up, he has a crazy highlight. He's super talented. He's retired now, but I was fortunate enough to have him as one of my first coaches, which really opened a lot of doors at the time. But he was kind of rough too, and so we were fucking touch sparring, nothing crazy, and what did I do? I think I went to like Superman punch him or something, and he just put his knee straight up and just racked my nuts and tore. Yeah, I mean, it was internal, so it's not like I was bleeding or anything, but I just sat there for like an hour just holding. I was like, oh shit, and he was just staring at me like, you gonna get up? It's not like a tough guy. He didn't want to fucking. Yeah. I was like, check on him, bro.
Do you kind of lose your sensitivity like fighting to? Yeah, just to injuries or like hurting people. Do you, or do you ever feel bad for somebody?
Yeah, I think not necessarily feel bad, but I remember being like backstage waiting for my turn to come up, because that's probably when it's the most nerve-wracking. You're like, the event is here, the training is done, and you're back at the corner with the other fighters, waiting for your time to come in. And I used to struggle with. The nerves would get me, and I would think like, damn, what am I doing out here? I'm like, I'm gonna go fuck this dude up that I don't know, or maybe get fucked up. I don't know who he is. I have no beef against him, know nothing. So I think that would roll back in my mind, and I think mine was definitely more internal. I'm like, I don't know this guy. He has a mama. He has someone who's gonna not like to see him get hit, and like when you break down what the sport is, it's basically just, and this was, I think, a lot of like my upbringing too. Like my grandma was super like, why are you doing this? And you're just like, you know, she's like God fearing and whatnot to an extreme. So I was like, I guess I'm just doing this for entertainment. So, you know, I would have like these philosophical arguments in my head while I'm waiting to fight, and then finally I'd be like, fuck it, I'm already here. We're gonna, you know. At that time, I would tell myself it's like it's my art, and I'm painting while I'm in there. You know, I'm demonstrating what I've been working on, and that's kind of how I would get over taking the human emotion out of it, I guess.
For sure.
And that worked to a certain degree, but like I said, I would still get nervous. You know how it would feel like when you have a dream that you can't punch, you know, like there's no power, there's no power to
sleep paralysis,
kind of like that. And so I felt like that at a couple fights. I like started the fight, and then it wasn't until I would get rocked that I would be like in it. Like my strength was back, and so that was a problem, because sometimes an MMA fight, if you're not in it from
the jump,
from the bell, then that's the end of the fight.
Yeah.
But I had one summer where it was a pretty hard training session where I was fortunate enough to train with some really talented fighters, and we just beat the shit out of each other for like 3 or 4 months, and which I don't recommend always training like that, but at this time I think it was necessary for me, and thereafter all my fights I've never lost after that summer. I think it was must have been like 2014 or 2015. But anyway, since then I've had a win streak. I don't know what I'm on, but it's probably like 7 or 8 win streak. And it was just a mindset after that. I was like, I'm fucking keeping up. We're beating these guys, and they're kicking ass. So like I'm there, you know.
And when you're training like that, how do you draw the line between like going too hard, or like, you know, like keeping that healthy balance to where you're not fucking each other up to like become injured, like injuring each other, I guess.
Yeah, injuring is definitely it's part of the game. You're gonna get injured, but I get what you mean, like with intention, you know, like you were going too hard and so you injured me. That's kind of something different. Usually injuries are an accident, like you step wrong or you pull on something quick if you have a submission. But there's like a intensity threshold that if you train with the same people all the time, you kind of, it's almost like you know how to get along, like you know which friends you could roast the shit out of and which ones might not too much. So it's kind of similar, like you know which training partners you can have some hard rounds with and aren't going to necessarily elevate to the point where they get like in their feelings. And then you have some teammates where you probably either they kind of get crazy, or if you know you get crazy, you probably just chill a little bit. You know?
I heard it's a slippery slope.
For sure.
Like you can get someone, you hit someone a little too hard. And you're just like, oh, this motherfucker.
It's good to be vocal. Like now that I've coached a lot more, I definitely encourage fighters to be vocal about whenever they're like, I mean, push yourself, you know, if you have some training partners that are around your size, your weight, your technical level, definitely push yourself. But, don't be afraid to tell someone to calm down, or you know, you're having an off day, or maybe you don't want to train that, or you're getting close to your fight, or this or that, and that really helps save some relationships, because
like, my fault, dude, I just knocked the shit out of you, bro.
Before it gets to that point, but inevitably it's gonna happen. I mean, you have some, you know, you throw a knee without a knee pad out of instinct, and someone ducks into it and you knock them out, or you cut them. That's gonna happen, and you're in a fighting sport, so if that's gonna hurt your feelings, then you're in the wrong sport.
Have you are you like a deep thinker, would you say?
I don't know if I'd call myself that. Then I would like seem kind of but
it seems like it though. Like I don't know, I get the like, because I mean you're talking about like the whole that you battle with yourself like philosophically, like between fights and shit, like
I think the concept of that. I was also going to school and I was trying to be a doctor, so I was like, all right, so do I go try to heal people, or do I try to give them brain damage?
Take them to the hospital?
Or a doctor that fights? That'd be pretty crazy. Ironic, huh?
Yeah. So then I think that was a lot to do with it too. I was like, because you know, in life, if you can't spread yourself too thin, because you're not gonna be good at anything. You're gonna like fall short in every direction. So if that's what I was doing, I was falling short of my fighting, and I was falling short of my education, my academics. So that's why I feel like I had this tug of war in my head. Like, should I even be here, or should I be over there? Should I be all in or all out? And then just ironically, when I decided to go all in with fighting, it was going great. And then I had a vehicle accident that took my arm. So I hold no ill will towards it. It's like the way that life turned out. But yeah, I felt like when I made a decision to go all in, that's kind of, it was short lived. I would have liked to be able to see how far my career got, because I really felt like I was on a roll.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I don't know.
Right.
But
yeah. And so so you graduate, and then like out of high school, were your plans to like continue fighting like professionally, or yeah, so that was your plan from the start?
Yeah, being a doctor was like my backup plan.
Okay, yeah.
Which then I realized that can't be your backup plan. You need to be like 80 hours a week into that shit.
For sure.
So I was definitely overworked at the time because I was still training a lot. But
so you went to school?
Yeah, I went
in Austin, right?
In Austin, yeah. I went to UT, which was awesome.
Yeah.
Badass school.
For sure.
And a lot to do, even though I didn't do that much because I was training or in class.
So you went to gyms out there?
Yeah. No, that was a big reason why I was like, I still feel super fortunate, even being here in El Paso, training with all my teammates. I think I have a lot to offer just because I was able to train with so many world-class athletes. Mm-hmm. And so being out there facilitated that. Like the first big gym that I was in, Tim Kennedy's a retired UFC fighter who had a big part of his camp was at that gym. And so right from the get-go, I was 19 and I was able to train with these guys that were in Bellator or in the UFC or some other professional promotions at the time. And I was like the youngest kid there, and I was okay, but you know, that was their career. So it accelerated my skill set really quickly. Because you're getting your ass kicked all the time, you're gonna pick something up, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So I was able to train with a bunch of really good athletes, and that, you know, you learn a lot of stuff. And so now it's cool because I'm starting to see El Paso talent be at the level of that Austin was at that time. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's a lack of talent that is the reason why we don't have any fighters out of here kind of in the UFC representing. I think it's more so maybe a lack of resources, and it's only recently that the communities started training amongst each other. So this gym doesn't really hold. When I first left El Paso, it was super tribal out here. If you're from another gym, it was almost like you're gangbanging. Like you know, you could, if you went to that gym, you had to go in a group and you're gonna spar and beat the shit out of each other. There was gonna be some drama, and that's kind of how it was. And this was like 2009, 2010, maybe even a little earlier, 2008. That's about when I was coming into the scene. But anyway, that's kind of how it was, and you limit yourself when you don't cross train quite significantly, because you don't feel as many, you don't get as many different looks as you can if you're training different gyms all the time. And I mean, you also probably should have like your main training gym. Yeah. That helps to have your teammates that consistently work with you, work on you, insofar as adjustments here and there. But it's good to go spar out at this gym and have a good relationship, and that gym go do some jiu-jitsu at this gym and cross train. It helps out quite a bit. And El Paso's really in the last, since I've been here anyway, gotten every year it seems like they get better at having good relationships between gym owners, between teams, and it only helps us grow. Like at the end of the day, the point of this for the athletes, for the competitors, is to hit the big time, go to one championship, UFC, I don't know if K1's still a thing, but kickboxing league
for sure. Damn, that makes sense. I feel like just being able to bounce around, collaborate with other gyms. And I don't know if maybe it's just because we're more in the scene and more involved in the community, but I for sure seen a lot more just fighters myself, or just like seems like they're getting more exposure. Right. And even just like the recent fight that they just put on, has there been like a really like successful or big like MMA promotion here?
No, not really, and that's something I'm super excited about. I know I don't know who the first like sanctioned event was. I think it was Lamar Harris. He's I grew up with him too. He's out from the Northeast, and he hosted Kingdom Fight League, I believe they're called, KFL. And so that's cool because it seems like it's been snowballing since then. Where they had an event, and then now Carlos put together his event with
the CFC, right?
CFC, which both very professional promotions, and like they for their first event, it was as good as any promotion I fought for. And then whether it was in Arizona or Florida or Austin or wherever, so it was really cool to see, and I feel like they're kind of fueling each other a little bit, like it's in a healthy competitive way. So that's only gonna help El Paso. It's gonna help, like I said it jokingly, I'm just looking ahead of my highlight, but that is a lot of the way that fighters are going to be able to make their own path, because if you're not connected to a great manager or a great network, then you have to force your name into the conversation. And how do you do that? You do that by going viral. You do that by having a record that's flashy, that shows. You do that by being a personality. So those highlights will definitely help that. So these fighters, especially from El Paso, that we don't have exactly the network to push our fighters into the UFC right now, that's what they need to be doing. Really,
for sure.
Yeah, really gaining a fan base in and out of El Paso.
Yeah. And what, in your eyes, like what does it take for someone that's at like this level to make that jump to the UFC? Is it pure exposure? I mean, exposure is a big thing, but they have to win certain fights in certain leagues, or like how, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking from experience. I didn't make it, you could say. And I'll always be like, because I tore my ice, that old uncle, but I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But I think what I've observed is there's definitely people here with the skill set, but that's only part of the equation. Part of it is also a certain discipline that if you're not used to, like when I was in Austin, there was your high level competitors, and there was your like kind of good competitors, but their life is kind of always a mess. And then you have your hobbyists who are very helpful because they bring the money into the gym and they're consistent. Yeah. So you have hobbyists, which is usually older dudes who like to know how to fuck people up, and those are great because they have a lot of knowledge. So everyone's necessary in that totem pole, right? But your high competitors, what they got going for them is that their life is somewhat stable. What I mean by that is they have they're training all the time. And what do you need to be training all the time? You need to like not be moving around all the time as far as household. You got to have some, like, it sounds silly, but at least somewhat of a regular nutrition. Yeah. Because other great fighters are that do have that are gonna just outwork you because they have the calories to do so. So you need good nutrition. You need a good discipline with your sleep. You need good. So you have to understand that discipline and understand that there's a ton of fighters who are all looking at that number one spot. So like really have the mentality that like if coach turns around and I don't finish these last push-ups or this or that, there's another guy who's doing two more. And so there's that discipline. Having the types of teammates that are gonna push you insofar as like skill set, because if you're the best guy at the gym all of the time, you're just gonna hit a plateau in your skill set unless you're like a whiz at like teaching yourself. But realistically, you need a competitive team to grow. So if I was in El Paso, I guess I'll answer the question this way. If I was in El Paso training, I would make sure that I'm getting as much cross training as I can get with the best fighters in El Paso, and and if you're in the scene, who where that level is that you who you need to be training with. And I'd make sure that my schedule, my life schedule was routine, so that I could be at every training session I could be at, and so that I could make sure that I was resting and eating in a routine where I'm like always ready, where I can keep training, where if I get hurt, I recover quickly. Yeah, it's pretty much like that's what I would say. It's not. Oh, it needs a battery or what?
There, it's going.
Oh, all right.
It's because every 30 minutes for some reason this camera will.
But I think like I may be cocky or something, but I think I would have been in the UFC, like, and I would have carved my name out already by now. If this hadn't happened, if I hadn't lost my arm, maybe it wouldn't have happened. You know, I don't know. But I felt like it would have. I felt like there was nothing to stop me. So I feel like if I could do that, these guys that were just blessed with genetics more so than me. You know, they just need to be disciplined, take care of themselves, and keep at it. Because at the end of the day, it's just that, you know, you just gotta outwork your competition. No matter where you are in the world, you got some dudes from Dagestan that are fucking ruling the UFC right now, and they have, like, I guess now, you know, they brought a lot of money back, but they were training with minimal equipment, nutrition, this and that, whatever, traditional stuff, you know. So there's really nothing stopping someone besides maybe just not training enough. You know?
Exactly.
Not fighting enough, especially if you're an amateur. You just need to be fighting all the time. You know?
So you started off, so boxing was your first discipline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When did you get into grappling or
wrestling,
jiu-jitsu or wrestling? Okay.
Yeah, in high school.
Yeah.
I always knew I would like MMA more. Even my boxing coach would get, you know, kind of mad at it. I was like, I'm just learning how to box so I can go into MMA. And he was like, why? He's like, you know,
so were you watching the UFC at that age already?
Yeah, I started watching, you know what? I started watching the UFC when Anderson Silva was big. I would catch it here and there before then, but when Anderson Silva moved from the WEC to the UFC, that's probably when I was on it the most. It was him and Jose Aldo that were pretty much like wrecking the competition, and GSP and maybe Matt Hughes. This was after Matt Hughes' time. I watched like in retrospect, so it gets fuzzy, but for sure it was like when Anderson Silva's reign was like at the top, that I started watching it pretty all the time. And what was your question?
So you ended up getting to wrestling.
Oh yeah. That happened because my fucking coach didn't give me a varsity spot as a junior on the fucking soccer team. Oh, wow. And I was like, nah, bro, I'm not gonna go out there as a fucking
you're
junior.
Playing JV.
On JV, yeah. Fucking keep your yeah. And I still don't know what, like, I didn't think I was that bad, but he just, so I was like, nah. And the only other sport that was going on at the time was wrestling. And I was like, yeah, I'm already boxing. I want to do MMA, so let's learn how to wrestle, even if I had to put on those spandex. And now I rock them all the time. But yeah, that's how I joined it. And I got my ass handed to me that first year. I won 12 out of 36 matches. Or I won 12 and lost 36, something like that.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's pretty normal for your first season to just they mop the floor with you. But I trained really hard. That was probably the first time that I learned how to train. Like, I learned how to I just became obsessed with it. I trained like, I had it like, you remember in high school your last period was like whatever sport you did.
Yeah.
So I had that, and then after school I had class, and then after that class or training, and then after that training I would go to a city club wrestling team. So that was 3, and then I was still boxing. So after that I would go box. Damn. I remember I'd be falling asleep on like the spaghetti bowl on the freeway going to like my next training, because I used to drive to Carolina over here closer to this side of town for boxing. So I'd be rushing to make my 8:30 at boxing, and I'd get home at like, 10:30, and then just all over again, wake up and do. And so I did that for basically my sophomore year to my junior year, because I really wanted to. Oh no, from my junior year to my senior year, because I had 1 year to go to state, and I didn't make it actually, but I was like noticeably like complimented by a lot of coaches on just like being a different wrestler than the following year, just because I put in that time. And even though I didn't reach the goal that I had set out to, like, at least go to state, I definitely was I got good enough to where I was like probably top 3 in the city in my weight class.
Yeah. After a year is pretty maybe. Solid. Yeah. That's crazy.
And the guys that were beating me, besides homie from Chapin, Josh, he was also not that experienced, but he started his freshman year, whereas I did like 3 tournaments my sophomore year, and then quit, and then went to and came back my junior year. So I really had my junior year and my senior year. But yeah, it was that kind of training regimen just kind of stuck the rest of my Until now, really, only it's kind of focused in different fields now. Now it's not just fighting.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then after that, so when was your first like official MMA fight?
I was 19, so it was 20. When was I 19? 2013, maybe.
2013.
Let's see, I graduated 2017, 18. It was probably 2013 or 2014 was my first MMA fight. And like I told you, I walked out there with my fucking broken nut, looking like the Liberty Bell, just going thunk, thunk.
Damn.
And then they like, as soon as the guy started, I was like ready to go, and hell no, he just went, shot for a takedown. I like couldn't sprawl because my nut was like the size of my fist.
Oh my God.
So painful. And so he just fucking wrapped me up, choked me out.
And had you been training jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. By that time, I was a lifer blue belt at the time. I'd been a blue belt for a minute, but I never put on the gi. And at that time, I was in a gi school, so he's like, if you don't wear the gi, you're not gonna get belted. So I was a blue belt for like 6 years, But so I was a pretty good grappler by that time, but I just couldn't with the whole
Dude. I bet your mobility was very limited.
Yeah, and I passed out because I was like, I ain't tapping, and I remember just I thought I was waking up, I thought it was like morning, and then I was like, fuck, it's morning already, and then I felt like I thought I slept with gum in my mouth, I was thinking in my head like, fuck, you fell asleep with gum in your mouth. And then I open my face, and the ref is like, just like in my face. I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck is
wild.
going on? Yeah, and then I get up, and I'm like, oh, I lost, didn't I? Oh yeah, okay. And then that was my first MMA fight. Then the second one I win, TKO in the second round, and then I'm like, all right, cool, I do got it. And then third fight, I lose again. How did I lose? I went up a weight class just kind of like on a last minute thing, but I don't want to excuse that. But the dude just kind of like, he was able to pin me down, and he didn't really do any damage, but he held me down. He won a decision over me. I thought I did enough to beat him, but anyway, I lost that fight. So I'm like 2 losses and 1 win. I'm already looking like a not really impressive fighter. So I did struggle quite a bit with knowing whether I was gonna keep pursuing it or not. And then my next fight I win. How did I win that one? Who was that? I won here in El Paso. It was the King of the Cage, I believe. No, that was my 5th fight.
And these are all amateur fights?
These are all amateur fights. I was fighting like 4 times a year at the time.
Yeah.
Which is what an amateur should be doing. 3 to 5 times a year is an amateur who's working.
Yeah.
And I forgot how my 4th loss came by, or how my 4th win came by. My 4th fight was a win. But anyway, so I win my 4th fight, and I'm like 2-2. It's not terrible, all right. And then I get I come to visit for winter break or for summer break. I don't remember what it was, but my team at the time, I wasn't too experienced. I don't fault them for it now, but I was definite. Basically, they offered me a title fight last minute, like next weekend. Title fight, King of the Cage up in Albuquerque. Let's do it. You're ready? Cool. And I was like, when you're a fighter, you want to feel like you could take on anyone. For sure. So I was like, let's do it. In hindsight, if I was coaching myself, I'd be like,
just wait.
Yeah, you need more experience for this guy. So I go, and I'm actually not doing too bad. The first round starts, my first televised event. It's a big promotion at the time coming up. And we're fighting, and I leg kick the guy once, then twice, then 3 times. I'm trying to like chop his leg up because I knew he had some knockout power. And then he tried to kick me back, which is what I was waiting for, so I could like, because sometimes in fighting you have a lot of monkey see, monkey do type behavior. So if you know that, and you could bait stuff. But I grabbed his leg when he went to leg kick me, and I just held it there. And that's just kind of a lack of experience. And he threw a straight left or straight right at me. I forget which side I grabbed, but straight left, because I grabbed his left side, his right leg on my left side, and it knocked me out. It knocked me out cold. He knocked me out cold, and then he hendoed me. Basically, I hit the ground, fucking rocked my head, and then he landed on my face with a hammer punch. I don't remember any of that. I was,
So it was that first one you were out?
Yeah, I was out, and then I remember not waking up, but coming to. behind, like in the corner, and it was the main event. So by the time I went out, there was no other fighters in the back. That's kind of what sucks about being like the last fights, you know. It's like the main event, co-main, but it also takes forever.
Yeah,
well, anyway,
yeah.
so when I walked out of there was nobody. So when I come to, I'm still thinking I'm about to go fight. So I'm like,
shit.
I'm like hyping myself up, and then the doctor gets his flashlight and he's doing this, and I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, what you doing this for? And then I was like, oh, I lost, didn't I? Fuck,
Dude.
And so. And then I see the guy, and we, you know, it's always love at the end of it, you know. I never had like a feud or anything, but I didn't remember anything from like the moment of the punch to maybe about 15 minutes after when I came to. But I was up, and he rose his hand, and I walked out, and so I wasn't like, you know, they didn't carry me out. Or
Yeah.
anything.
Do you have to go to the hospital after that?
It depends on how you feel.
Yeah.
So if I didn't have any headaches, no nausea, no I wasn't too overly tired, and so if you don't have any of those symptoms, I'd hate to be the guy to tell you not to go.
Yeah.
You know, like if you have the means and you don't want to be a tough guy, I say if you had some head trauma, you should always like check yourself out.
Yeah.
But I was fine because I'm built like that.
I'm built different.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say if you can't, get yourself checked out. But
yeah. And do those losses, like when you lose, is it like, damn, should I fight again after
Bro,
this?
I was fucking mortified. I was like, damn, I'm like extra average at this. Like,
Yeah.
I got 3 wins and 3 losses. I'm like, fuck. So I like didn't know what to do. And plus, I told you, by this time I was in college already. So I was like, it takes like fucking, it's a full time and a half job to get A's in college, and then plus like just training all the time, and then for having a pretty like subpar record, it's something definitely I would think about.
Yeah.
And then I won again, I believe. I won a couple more fights. I won like 2 more fights. So then I was 5-3 when I moved back over here. And I was still debating. I was like, damn, I'm leaving Austin, so I'm not gonna have like the same training, the same people around me that are gonna be able to provide me the talent that I need to excel and be like the best. So I was already kind of counting it out. And thankfully, when I moved over here, I went to 10th Planet. Someone invited me to 10th Planet. It was 2017, and I went to an open mat. Alex Diaz, Candyman, he invited me over there, and I was going in cocky, to be honest. I was like, I'm gonna fucking wipe the floor with these guys, and then the owner, Cristobal Chavez, and Andy Varela was there, and Sammy, a couple of their like kind of staple guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they were fucking tough. They were I think Cristobal subbed me a few times, and I had some rounds with Andy, and they're kind of handing it to me, and I was like, oh shit, all right, there's fucking there's like room to improve here. So I got kind of excited, and that's when Cristobal realized that I knew jiu-jitsu, but I was an MMA fighter, so my jiu-jitsu wasn't as sharp as it is if that's all you're focusing on. But I could fight at the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, still, but at the time I was focused on it. So he convinced me to keep fighting, and I took a fight, and I just wiped the floor with the dude. I kind of I was almost mocking him a little bit in that fight, just because I was having fun, and he couldn't get up, and I just thought it was funny that he couldn't get up. I would like
just teabag him or what?
Yeah. I would like get his hopes up, you know, and then almost let him up, and then just face plant him, and I was hitting him hard enough to be annoying, but not enough to finish it. And you know why though? Because he dropped me in the first round. I got a little cocky, and I was like, boom, and he sat me on my butt, and he rushed. This is another thing. A lot of guys, as soon as they hurt the guy or stumble him or drop him, they rush in, like, you know, they either blow their load, they like leave it all there, and then the guy survives, and then they have nothing left.
Yeah.
Or they like dive straight into a submission or something. So I kind of knew this, so I like sat on my butt, and then I saw him rush towards me. By this time I'm an experienced fighter, you know, and so I just ducked a little bit because I saw that he was coming in to uppercut me, and I grabbed his ankle, and I basically reversed him and took him down from my butt. And then from then, I didn't let him back up. I was like, you're not gonna drop me again. And so the rest of that fight, I just dogged him the whole time. And that kind of gave me a bit of confidence because he was, if I remember correctly, he was well ranked in the amateurs. And then I took another fight and I won. I took another fight and I won. And then Cristobal was like, hey, go pro. Like, you're ready to go. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And then I go pro and I win again. And I have another fight. I win again. And so that's really when I was feeling like I could take on the world at this point.
This was 2018, 2017?
Yeah, 2017. Yeah, going into 2018. Actually, it was already... going into 2018. I think 2018 I had my first 2 pro fights. And so after my second pro fight, I don't know if it's someone's birthday or no, it was August. So I think it was just right after my fight. I was like, let's go on vacation with my family, and we went to Rocky Point, Puerto Peñasco, Puerto Vallarta. I always get those two confused.
Puerto Peñasco.
Yeah. And so and that's where this happened. And I was with my family. I was drinking. I'm not gonna lie, but I wasn't like fucking getting wasted. I was, just like your casual margarita at the pool or something. And we went to the beach, and we kept wanting to rent these Polaris racers and just ride them around. And
what are like just like 4-wheelers,
like the Can-Ams and shit.
The 4-wheelers. And they kept on closing. Like every day we would drive by them. They're like, oh, we're done for the day. And then on the last day that we were there, we were already riding back to the hotel, and then we stopped again, and then they were like, he was like, fuck it, just grab it. Yeah. And then and we went, and we were doing fine, and then my brother starts fucking, peeling out and drifting and stuff. So then I hop on the wheel and I start doing the same thing. And then I gotta like, do the biggest fucking thing. So I go and I just miscalculated, and I flipped this way, and I stuck my arm out in like the worst possible part of it, and it just did this to my arm, and it just shred right through it almost. So it was almost like hanging off when it happened. I mean, the thing ended up on top of me, so I didn't know it was that bad. I thought I broke it.
So when you flipped, you put your arm out like that, essentially?
Yeah, to brace.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So wait, were you just like you were drifting it? Like you were just sliding it and it just flipped?
Yeah. We might have hit like a big rock or something that caused it to flip, but I'd be lying if I told you that's exactly what happened. I just know that I drifted it, and we started rolling, and I braced like an idiot. I had told everyone right before we got in there, I was like, if we flip, don't stick your arms out. It's like the first thing I did. But I stuck, and then I heard it snap. So I was like, fuck it. I never broken a bone before. So I was like, well, I guess this is what this feels like. And I was just thinking, I had just signed to my third fight too. So I was thinking like, fuck, this is going to be like at least 6 months before it's done healing. And it's going to be like a year of rehab. This is going to set me back. I was 24 at the time. I was like, it's going to set me back at least a year. And these years are like prime fucking age, 25 through 35. Like you got a decade to really like make it or not make it in that sport. And so, if that, because, so then, I was like already, this thing was on top of me, and I was just like, fuck, this fucking arm's going to take forever to get back to where I need it to fight. And I had no like idea, but once everyone got off the vehicle and it got light enough to flip over, then I realized just how severe it was. The thing it was almost like an 80s horror movie, like cheesy, where like the blood was spritzing and like a sprinkler, and I was like, oh shit. I like grabbed my arm and I'm like, fuck. And then my dad's like,
but it was still like attached at the time,
like barely, probably like a third of it was attached. It was just severed.
So you saw like your bones, I mean everything was gone.
Yeah, it looked like fucking spaghetti and meatballs,
and it was just like attached by flesh.
yeah it was off. And your nerves are once they rip, they're kind of like hair, like fatty yellow hair. So it looked almost like a brush in the nerve part, and I mean it's ground beef at that time.
Yeah.
And so I'm holding it, and I was gonna at the rate that I was bleeding, I would have bled out and died there. But my dad thought pretty quickly, and he tourniqueted my arm. So that went from like a sprinkler to just a leak. And so I just chilled there. I knew like I had to calm my heart rate or it was gonna like bleed more quickly. So I was just trying to chill out, calm down, until help could get there. And then within probably about 30 minutes, some paramedics were able to make it, because we were also in the sand dunes, so it was not exactly accessible. So yeah, it took probably like 30 minutes for paramedics to get to me. And that time, I thought there was a few moments where I thought I was gonna die, because it feels like when you're trying to stay awake and you're really tired, you're trying to stay awake for a movie, you just can't. That's kind of the feeling I had.
Coming in and out.
Yeah, so I was like, fuck, I'm gonna die. And I knew that was from losing blood. I lost a lot of blood, and so so like surprising, like funny enough, I like said my goodbyes to everybody, because I was like, I'm probably gonna die here.
Dude.
So it turned from like me worrying about my next fight, like fuck, it's gonna be like a year before I could fight again or two, to like, oh shit, I might die here. So it changed a lot in my I guess my perspective towards just being able to live a little more. Yeah.
And your family at the time were just like, I mean, I can't imagine what the fuck was.
My dad was freaking out. He just kept cussing. He kept saying, "Oh fuck, oh fuck."
Yeah. He was panicking like shit. Huh?
Yeah, and I was like, "No, it's all right." And I was kind of trying to calm them down.
Yeah.
My brother swears he wasn't crying, but I swear I remember him crying. And
were you crying?
No, I was kind of at peace, honestly. I told you I've lived like it. I'm very fond of like every stage of life that I've had, from my childhood to middle school to high school. I felt like I've just pedal to the metal my whole life, like everything that I want to do, that I've wanted to do, I've been fortunate enough or ballsy enough to try and get after it. So at that time I was like, hey, it's just what happens when you live at 100 miles an hour for your whole life, and I was like, I'm fortunate, and I've lived many lifetimes over, it feels like, already. By this time I had traveled Australia, I have traveled, and I had just done a lot, and so I felt
just on your own time, like you were just taking vacations.
I did a study abroad in Australia when I was in university, and that was just like a thing that I was like, oh, you guys offer a study abroad program? What I got to do for that? Okay, cool. What's the longest I can go? Exchange program? All right, cool. So I just learned, I learned that it was possible, and I was like, let's do it. Where can I choose? I was like, well, it's probably going to be one of the only times I get to visit Australia, so let's go the furthest I can go. Yeah. And I was like kind of nerdy with animals and stuff, so Australia has the craziest fucking creatures.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, all these life experiences just make me at peace with my life ending at that point.
And were you thinking about this?
Yeah.
At that time?
Yeah. That's what I was telling them. And then I was just like, don't let my mom think this was her fault. I love her, and I'm telling my dad and my girlfriend at the time. I'm kind of laying back at her, so I'm like apologizing and thanking her and thanking my brother, and I'm just like, it's all good. I'm not scared, ready to go. And then I see the paramedics, and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm not going to die.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah, sure enough, they fucking bring me to the closest clinic, where this doctor got called in, probably, and he's walking in cargo shorts, and he sees my arm, and he's like, oh shit, dude. And I'm like, that's not the reaction I want to see from you, doc. And sure enough, he just soldered the veins, and he's like, I can't do anything for you here. We're gonna have to take you in to El DF, Mexico City, or to Phoenix. And so we decided to come here to Phoenix. That's why I ended up in Arizona for like 3 or 4 months.
And did you already come to the conclusion that like you're losing your arm, or like did you think like they were gonna fucking put it, like bring it back and put it back together? Like,
yeah, I thought that we could put it back. I was like, surely our technology is
right
sufficient.
It's like it's 2020 here, bro. Like, surely, doc, you can do something.
Yeah, and so I was in hindsight, I hate thinking about it too, cause I hate thinking about that, because I'm like, what would you have done differently? Like, I was like, well, put the fucking thing in ice. What is it doing hanging out? Just fucking cut it, put it in ice, and that preserves cells, So you hear of like even that.
Did they tell you would have had a shot if you did that, or what?
I don't even ask those questions, because then you just it's just poison for the mind,
right.
But because I remember reading in college some like couple got in an argument, and she like chopped his dick off and fucking threw it out the window in like a field, and then they found it, put it on ice, and were able to like reattach it, and it worked. I'm like, they can do it for the dick, they can do it for my arm.
Dude's still getting erections to this day, bro.
Yeah, I think it was upside down, so it goes downward, but So it's things like that. Maybe another thing is that we had to drive up to Phoenix because there was a big storm, so we couldn't get airlifted. I couldn't get airlifted out.
Dude, and that's like 4 hours, no?
Yeah. So
you were 4 hours with your.
it's longer than that, bro. You know, like.
So what did he just wrapped you up? And
yeah, he soldered the veins so that
Okay.
they wouldn't be bleeding. But no, not even packaging or nothing. I was just holding that shit.
Oh my God.
And then another thing, it's kind of fucked up, but the border patrol wouldn't let us.
Yeah, I was
through.
gonna say you have to go through the fucking border.
Yeah, the border patrol wouldn't let us through because the ambulance wasn't a registered vehicle to cross over.
Oh my God.
And then the dude, so the guys they didn't come with their documentation to cross the border. So the fucking dude's not like letting us go through, you know. And then he's like,
did he see your fucking arm?
That's what I like told the guy. I was like, dude, I'm gonna fucking lose my arm here. And then and he's just being like fucking, you know, like whatever he's being, he's not budging. And my dad's even like, hey, what if we move him over to the to their vehicle, my mom's vehicle, her SUV, and drive him ourselves? And he's like, it's too dangerous. It's you know, he's basically, for whatever reason, he's not letting us do it. And then it's like, at this point, it's like 10:30 p.m., 10:40, and that border, that crossing closes at 11 p.m. And so I'm thinking, like, what the fuck are we gonna do if like this place closes? And there was another border patrol who, as soon as I showed up and he saw that his like the whoever was in charge there was just not gonna do anything for me, he took off. I didn't know where. I wasn't really focusing on it, but a few minutes before the American ambulance got to us, he came over and he basically cleared this ambulance to travel into the U.S. for like an emergency. He said I don't know if he was bullshitting me, but he said he called the White House and that he had to get special clearance to let us through. So this dude was, or maybe they were in on it, I don't know. I was fucking bleeding out, but it seemed like one dude was really trying to help us and one dude was really like not worried about helping us. But when they allowed us to go through, the American ambulance had just arrived. So I was like, all right, cool. So they moved me to the American ambulance, which was night and day. The Mexican ambulance was like an ice cream truck that was retired. I was like on a fucking fold out fucking chair. And then on the American ambulance, it was like, you know, it's a hospital room back there. Yeah. And they just injected me with probably some Dilaudid or something and put me to sleep, and I didn't wake up until 48 hours later after surgery. Yeah. And they had attempted to reattach it, and yeah, that's how it went. It was pretty crazy. So
you woke up without your
No, they tried to reattach it.
Oh, okay.
I was like, this is the best you could do, doc. No, they tried to reattach it, and it was like a 11-hour surgery. I got like 3 blood transfusions. They're patching me up, and we waited for about a week to see if my arm would take, but when I just kept rotting away. It was kind of sad to see. It started blistering and turning black, and then finally the doctor was like, hey, the main surgeon who was taking care of me, he's like, hey, we could be here for another year and the same situation, same condition, so you have to start thinking about making a decision. And then I told her to take it off, and so we did. Then it was just like the next day we went into surgery, took it off, and the last week was just getting me ready for like going back to life. And yeah,
you make the decision sound so easy, bro, but like how, yeah, I mean, what was going through your head during all this? How were you dealing it? Were you consulting with your parents? I mean,
nah, I didn't want them to think one way or the other that they impacted anything, because then if I like regretted it in the future and got like suicidal or this or that, then they're gonna think it's their fault. So I didn't even think to let them have any say in the matter, you know. So I just right away, because she was like, hey, look, even if we save it, chances are you're not going to have any functionality in it. So then I was like, well, it's just going to get in the way at that point. You know, I'm going to be breaking my fucking arm and like not even knowing. And that was like what I had in my head. So she agreed with me, and I was like, all right, well, let's do away with it. I was like, I can still, I legit thought I was like, I still do jiu-jitsu at least with a half arm. And sure enough, that's the route we went. But yeah, I made sure, I thought about not, because my mom was like, no, we could find another doctor, this or that. And I was like, Mom, it's gone. It's okay. It's fine. I already, like, you have to accept it, but I did yesterday. So,
man.
So, but yeah, I remember thinking about because I know that's just how parents are. You know, they're gonna feel like they made a mistake or something, and so I try to always kind of let them know it was my fuck up. It was my it was always me. So
after coming off this high, like you say, you were winning, like you had your streak of fights, you were doing good. You felt like you were becoming the fighter that you wanted to become.
Yeah.
What follows after the accident? How do you deal with it?
There was definitely a period of turmoil. I was stuck in a lease in an expensive apartment. I wasn't working. I didn't know what to do. I had just, it seemed like just yesterday, put like all fucking my eggs in one basket, which my whole life I had been struggling with not doing that, because I'm always like trying to be safe, like plan B, and I was like, no, I had finally just been like, no, let's do this, and it was working. So there was a big identity crisis. Also, like Juan's the fighter, like my whole identity was revolved around me being a fighter. So like at that point, it was like, what am I if I'm not that, right? And I think that I had maybe like a 6-month period that was tough. I remember thinking like I have to keep busy, because if not, I'm gonna like wallow in my own sorrow. So I told myself I was gonna learn how to snowboard and learn how to do an open mic, because I had been telling myself that I was gonna go do some stand-up comedy forever, and just always pussied out. And then what else did I say? And I need to compete. So, and jiu-jitsu, because I really didn't think I was gonna strike anymore. I didn't realize I was this fucking good, but
no, literally, yeah.
So I try to hit the ground running as much as I could. I also learned how to how to do a lot of. I make jokes all the time with like the fucking thing. I'm like, well, I had to even the playing field for y'all fucking losers. But for real. And so I learned how to like use the camera because I figured that I got into making content just kind of like as a coping mechanism to keep myself busy, and like video making and photography too, but I was definitely more into like video editing, and I thought it was cool. And then fucking now there's apps that do like everything that I fucking learned how to do, yeah. But so yeah, I mean, I went and I fucking bombed in front of a bunch of open mics and made a couple people laugh, which is fun. I got that out of the way. And I haven't done it in a while, but I've done it probably like a total like 7-8 times.
Wow.
So it is fun, and that's a whole world in and of itself. But I don't go nearly as often to be like any good. And then I learned how to snowboard not that year. I keep thinking it's that year, but I'm not that badass. It was the following year for sure. I had to heal a little bit, and so the following year I learned how to snowboard. I went up to Colorado, to Loveland, and I did some snowboarding there, or attempted to. That if you ever try it, I don't know if you guys have, but you're gonna just fucking fall on your face your whole first trip. You just expect to just be lucky if you if you get off of the is it gondola? Is that what they're called? Get off.
For sure, the ski lift.
The lift. Yeah,
dude, that's actually probably the hardest part in my opinion.
To get off.
Dude, it's a bitch.
So I learned, and I love doing that. I go every season now. Mm-hmm. I got my own board and everything, and it's fun. I'll definitely keep doing that. I don't know if I'll keep trying to stand up, but probably here and there. Yeah. And then I competed right away. Well, within probably like 6 months, I competed in jiu-jitsu, and then I got real. I was really a top heavy guy, a lot of chokes, a lot of fucking wrestling style, and I just couldn't do that anymore because I don't have the same posts. Yeah. So I changed my style a little bit to do leg locks more heavily, and that's not as common in the jiu-jitsu world. It is a little bit more now, but it's definitely like some schools, especially traditional jiu-jitsu, they don't even really mess with them. They don't teach them, and so I was having a lot of success. And then in tournaments and stuff, so that kind of fueled a little bit of momentum too, because obviously I'm fucking have one half arm here and I'm doing well and winning these tournaments. So I picked up quite a bit of steam. So
with jiu-jitsu, how'd you have to adjust besides like obviously the post, right? Like on top, what certain submissions do you I mean, leg locks, like you said.
Yeah. Well, my most successful submission was probably a Darce choke. Darce or anaconda choke.
Yeah.
Front headlock chokes was a position I liked because you could transition to ground and pound positions from there very easily. But I just couldn't do that anymore as successfully as before. So then I started having to like lay on my back more, transition to leg lock positions where I'm more on my butt. It's not really ideal for MMA because you leave yourself susceptible to ground and pound.
Yeah.
But for jiu-jitsu, there's no ground and pound, so you could be on your back and not really be in danger. So it was definitely a style change, but I was having success with it. I kind of got religious with it again and started studying it pretty readily, and it was cool. Just kind of kept the momentum going, and that's kind of been like my key. Don't get me wrong, I had some lows for sure, some identity crises, relationship issues at the time. Not necessarily because of this. Actually, you know, my girlfriend at the time was quite supportive, which was helpful, but just life things, you know? And so there was definitely some lows. I did a have you ever heard of a float, what are they called, deprivation tank?
Yeah, float tank. Yeah, for sure.
I remember I did one, and I took some shrooms.
Oh Jesus.
And I was like in there, and I was like I had become so addicted to my phone from having people consistently check in on me because of this. Yeah. Because in the fighting thing, you become somewhat popular if you're even slightly successful, you know. So a lot of people checked in on me, and so it became like this thing where I was just glued to it all the time, and I was posting a lot, so it was a lot of like interaction with it, and so I was floating in this thing, and I was like becoming anxious, and I was just thinking like, fuck, I'm addicted to this thing, and more deeply, I'm addicted to like that fucking gratification with people that are like, you know, I need them to fucking be contacting me for like that, and I started realizing there was a problem in this fucking trip. I'm also floating in space at the time because I'm fucking tripping, and I started thinking like about, I start getting like fucking blue and sad and shit, thinking about like, fuck man, I had this opportunity to do this, and I fucking blew it, and I did, you know, this, and so I'm like thinking, I'm just going down a spiral, and then I'm thinking like, how am I supposed to, like, I put so much fucking time and energy into that, like what the fuck do I do now with all that lost time, and then I just started thinking like, well, no, you know, like that's not fucking wasted. That was like, you proved to yourself. Granted, I didn't make it to the UFC, so like I won't ever know for sure. However, I was fairly confident, so I was like, you proved it to yourself that if you just fucking work at this, you can make it. And the medical school thing, I quit on it, but I could have done it. I just decided not to keep pursuing that route. So I'm like, you even not fully committed to that, you could have done that. So like, stop fucking beating yourself up over what didn't come to be, because all that I picked up, that I learned, kind of like taught me that if you just fucking stick at something and focus and study and research and really commit to learning something, really commit to a goal, like, you're gonna fucking do it. You just gotta be stubborn enough to keep at it. And so I'm having this trip, and I'm having this realization that I need to like shed the dependency on people's approval of me, I guess, and also just whatever I do decide to do, just approach it in the same manner that I've done my previous goals. And then I got out of the tank, and I was like, oh, that was fucking great. I was like, I think that's what it was supposed to do. Yeah. But so it was really cool. I remember that very particularly, just kind of getting me out of that funk that I kind of said for like 6 months or so. I still wanted, like, I had good mentality, but I cried in the shower a couple times. So it got me I finished my morning there, I guess.
Yeah. That's insane. I feel like it's a pattern with, I mean, I feel like whenever you're going through like some of your hardest moments, or even like the hardest moments in your life, there's always that one moment like that. You just kind of realize a lot of things.
Well, it's like what people describe as like rock bottom in a lot of senses, you know, like everyone's is different, but it's like there's a realization that like something has to change, whether it's your attitude or your behavior or your surroundings or your, and it's different things that make you realize it. But for me, it just so happened to be that I was
that trip.
Yeah, and I was like, I already paid for this. So
For real.
And you said that was 6 months, or how long was that post? Like,
yeah, it was about 6 months post the accident. It was probably in the summertime. So this happened in August of 2018. It was summertime by this time because I remember it was hot as fuck when I got at the tank.
Yeah, and you talk about like I guess like instant like gratification, especially from social media and like seeking other people's approval and just like things like that. How did you approach that? Like you realized it in that moment, but did it take work for you to kind of
it
get
still
past
takes
that?
work. It's designed to be addicting, and so it always takes work. Like you need to, and I'm susceptible to it now, you know. Sometimes I'll sit for fucking 2 hours and I'm like, what the fuck would I like? I just watched this for 2 hours. Like I need to be more useful with my time for myself. And so it always takes work. It's just recognizing it, not hating yourself for being human, and working on it. You know, having whatever you have to do. Different people need different things. You know, whether it's fucking little alarms that notify you when you fucking reach a certain amount of screen time or of sleep or of calories or whatever your fucking vice is. Yeah, you just gotta like, it's always gonna take work. And the gratification, we're social creatures. It's like it feels good when someone takes an interest in your life, when someone calls you pretty, when someone like, that's always gonna be a thing. But like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to? How are you trying to? Where do you want your time and your attention spent? So yeah, I think just like having grace on yourself for being human, but also like what kind of, like, who do you want to be, and what is that person that you want to be? How do they carry themselves? How do they act? Who are they? And if you want to be that, then you got to think about those things too.
For sure. And how'd you get into diving? When did that come about?
Oh, I was in Australia.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, no, I was like, fucking Australia, Great Barrier Reef. That's like the perfect time. And
like free diving, or is it
that
scuba
too?
diving?
Yeah, I've done that, but no, I do more scuba diving.
Okay.
I got certified out there. It's funny, I couldn't find. So you do the written tests, and those were okay, but you do a pool lap test for. There's two big certifications. It's PADI. They're like the iPhone of scuba diving, like the more popular, world renowned. Everyone takes, you know. And then there's the one I did because I was fucking hipster, I guess, which is, I don't even know, but it's
the name.
And that one is also world renowned, but they're just competitors. They're two organizations, I don't know what's an example.
Apple and Samsung or something.
I guess so. Yeah. My first. Anyway. So
UFC and Bellator.
Yeah, I got certified with the less popular one, which is fine. They're both equivalent. Anyway, when we had to do the swimming test, I couldn't find the fucking the location, and I didn't have a car. I was in Australia, and so I walked, took the bus or took the train. There's a bunch of their metro is a lot more accessible than El Paso, for example. It's kind of like New York, you know, you can get anywhere without a car. And so I was like, fucking took the wrong train, this and that. I have to get there within a certain amount of time. I remember it was fun. It was like almost like a movie moment, because as soon as I got there, I'm like already like taking my shoes off and just dive straight into the pool and start doing my laps. And then they're like, all right, now we got to wait for him to finish fucking 40 laps or however long it was. It was a lot of laps. I was like, and then I was like, really thinking that I was gonna like just stop because it was too many laps. And then I was looking at as I was swimming, I was looking at my comp, or like my the other students, my peers, And I was like, nah, there's no way I can quit. These people are like not even in shape. What am I doing? Why am I so tired? But I was running from like the station to like that. So maybe that's why, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was going to quit. And then I was like, nah, hell no, I ain't quitting. I was like, I'm the only one that's going to not make it. Because if you don't get your license. You got to like do it again, do the test again, which is good because it's dangerous. It can be dangerous. But yeah, diving is amazing. I do it every time that I'm near the ocean. I did 3 dives for that certification, which is cool. I saw some cuttlefish. I saw some stingrays. I saw some cool stuff.
How far down do you go?
It depends on your certifications. So there's a ton. You know, it's like picking up badges in a lot of ways. So I did open water, which is your basic one. And then there's deep sea. There is night diving. There is nitrogen certified. So basically you have a higher nitrogen content, which allows you to be down there longer. There's like tons of them. And so there's master diver, in which you have to have a certain amount of dives to qualify for that. So your basic one is going to be open water. And for that, you can dive up to maybe like 8 meters, 10 meters, which is what, like 30 feet. And which is where all the cool stuff is anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Like all the coral reefs and stuff, they don't go more than maybe like 3 or 4 meters down. So you really, with open water, you get to see everything. I got some cool dives. I went down to Tasmania while I was in Australia, and I did some like dives in like ice cold glacier water down there.
Holy shit.
It's pretty cool. The instructor there was just like a clown. He was not taking it seriously at all. He's like pushing me into a stingray once, like a big ass. Like the thing was like the thing that killed Steve Irwin, right? It was fucking this big. It's like as big as the fucking wall. It's like this, propped up on the wall with a stinger going straight up, and this dude's shoving me towards it, thinking it's fucking funny. And I was like, oh hell no. I'm like trying to kick my feet out, but he was super cool. He was like having us take pictures with fish. He was like catching them. Whereas more in like your bigger towns, they're like, don't touch the fish, don't touch the wildlife. This was fucking grabbing it from the and so we did some dives there. Me and a British friend of mine. And then anytime I go to Mexico, I've dove in Thailand. I always try to get a dive in wherever I'm at, because it's cool. It's just like another world down there. And and if you ever get the chance, it's pretty neat. Yeah. But it could be, if you're like a claustrophobic person or high anxiety, then it's you gotta practice.
Yeah.
But no, it's really cool.
For sure. And do you practice anything as far as like breath work or like meditation or like just time by yourself? Because you have a very like and I was telling him literally before this, I remember when I met you, I was like, dude, this dude has like a very calm demeanor. It's like kind of hard to explain. But do you do anything in particular?
Nah, I think it's just yes and no. Like there's no ritual behavior that I do, like breath work or anything like that. Although I've heard good stuff about like the Wim Hof stuff, like all that I think is good for the mind. Anything that you could do too, but one of it, honestly, I think is I smoked a lot of weed growing up from a young age. You know, I probably attempted to smoke weed for the first time in 7th grade. I was 12, and then it would make me so anxious. And then I realized that that's like the most anxiety that I have in life, that I've had in life. And if I could be fine there, then I'm fine. And so even when I was diving, I remember I started having shallow breathing once when I was still doing the course on my second dive. I started having some shallow breathing. I started freaking out, and I was like, oh, am I gonna book it for the top? And if you do, no harm, no foul. You're done for the day. You try again tomorrow. I think that's a big thing where, if you don't stress out too much over one particular scenario, because you always have tomorrow. Is a good mindset to be calm, I suppose. But I just sat down. I remember the rest of the crew was walking down, and I just sat there and try to breathe carefully, slowly, because you're on the tank, so breathing is not exact. It's the same as breathing out here, but it feels a little weird.
Sorry.
So I was just trying to calm myself there. I calmed myself, and then I go. So I think in short it's just living and and the more experiences you have, the less you're surprised by things. So
yeah. Do you still smoke weed?
Not often.
No.
Every now and again. I'm very social. I start even now. I'm like fucking been talking the whole time, which my bad.
Dude, that's why you're here.
So yeah, I'm like, if I smoke weed, I'll just be fucking telling stories until it's like 3 a.m. and then I need to get up early in the morning. So that's why I stay away from it. Nothing negative from it, just the fact that for me, I don't like. I'm not trying to be productive if I'm high, which in a lifestyle that requires me to be highly productive, it doesn't go hand in hand. Some people can be. I can't. Yeah,
for sure.
And I'd like it better that way. I want to laugh and have fun when I'm high. I'm not a solo smoker.
For sure.
Yeah, never been.
Yeah. And what's been like your favorite place that you've traveled to?
I mean, Australia's definitely top one. Thailand's awesome. Mexico's amazing too.
Yeah.
Those are the big 3 countries I've been in besides the United States.
Where'd you go in Thailand?
I was in Bangkok, Phuket.
Oh yeah.
Phuket. I went to a couple of the islands.
Yeah.
Koh Phangan is
that's where like the full moon party is.
I went to the full moon party
because that's like one of my only big international trips.
Oh, nice.
So I heard like the full moon party is fucking nuts.
Yeah, it was awesome. I went to a full moon party. I was pissed because my brother didn't go with me, but anyway, he's a loser.
Yeah. So it's like a party. I mean, every full moon, every month.
Yeah.
Everybody goes to this one island, bro.
Yeah.
Like everybody from all over Thailand, they go to Koh Phangan
and just like you just party out there.
Party on the beach, bro. Do you guys sleep out there? Like, how does it work? They have a bunch of hostels and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's not a huge island, but it's big enough to where there's a few sides of the island. So there's like the downtown area, which has like, it's a little street with like during the day it's like vendors and stuff. And just typical stores, and then but the beach is basically a bunch of bars. And at nighttime, especially for the full moon party, they like all turn their like, they create like a backyard bar. So there's like a DJ like at every bar, and the beach is like a huge party. Like, and the beach is maybe like, I want to say like half a mile long, maybe like a mile long, half a mile long. It's not that big, which just makes it so that it's a bigger party. There's like fire dancers. There's like a huge fire jump rope which you hop in. There's like a chill area for whoever's like going too hard on drugs. There's just like pillows and stuff if you just need some time to rest. It's kind of fucking crazy. International, being in like international hub spots is pretty open to drug experimentation and stuff. So like it's definitely a different view. And Thailand is pretty strict on drugs, so in the island, not so much, I feel.
For sure.
And then where I was on the calmer side of the island, because it's super cheap. It was like $130 for, I think, like 3 nights, two nights and 3 days, but like in a sweet beachfront villa. It was just fucking dope. And so yeah, I was staying there, and I had a few trips. I did some drugs definitely while I was out there. And,
that's crazy.
Yeah, but no, they're cool. I would definitely recommend, even just for the sightseeing. Koh Phangan, Koh Samui is another island that's fucking has a lot of sightseeing and delicious food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that Thai food is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what are your? I would say, what are you mainly focused on right now? Obviously you have your shop, and you still are fighting. Is there like some things in particular you want to accomplish in the next few years,
I definitely my shop is probably like the fucking biggest time commitment right now. Sometimes it's steady where I'm like in at 8, out at 5. Sometimes I'm working on it all night. Sometimes I'm, it just depends on what it's requiring. But the shop, just making the shop successful. I mean like a certain dollar number that it's returning to the point where I could step outside of it, and it could feed me without necessarily having to be there. Entrepreneur dream, I suppose. So there's that goal. The fighting, like I said, I'm having fun with it. I need to be training more, especially if I'm gonna like take a fight on call. I need to be in a little bit better shape. but it's not necessarily a huge goal. I'm much more focused in contributing as a coach, as an asset to the local talent, and helping us as a community grow and get to the UFC, get to the point where these guys can make a living off of the sport. So I definitely want to be more part of the growth of the sport here.
Yeah, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
And with your shop, I'm curious, like, if you've thought about, because there's so much like different technology and stuff coming out, and obviously a lot of like AI developments. Have you thought about where that can go when it comes to like body shops and cars and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Estimating is one of the more how would I call it? Difficult.
Aspects of the business, or
like technical. You know, 'cause everything's difficult. You know, being a salesman is difficult, and at the end of the day, it's a service. You're selling your service. So, from sales to marketing to doing that, you know, having a good product, you know, your technicians being well trained, and to managing people, like it's so much stuff that you got to be good at or get better at. But the place where AI I think could come in and help is definitely advertising, because that's all algorithms that are trial and error for like what keywords work for people looking for your service on Google, to you know, basically where your ads are most relevant. So AI could help there for sure. And then also for the technical niche specific things is like industry specific is going to be being able to create estimates, because basically cars are, you know, you have so many manufacturers, so many models, so much new advanced driver assist systems that are changing consistently. You know, modern vehicles, you have 20 computers that handle different things in the car.
Yeah.
So imagine, like, you have to be an expert in anything that comes into your shop. So a lot of the times, I joke about it, but you can write a whole fucking thesis paper on how they build a Volvo 2020 Volvo whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And why would you know that much about that particular vehicle? Well, because you're fixing it, and the person has to, when you deliver it back to them, you got to make sure that it's not a ticking time bomb, you know? So AI can read all the manufacturer specifications, the manufacturer repair procedures, and list out exactly what steps you need to take to repair this vehicle. And if you're a trained technician, then you could take your blueprint, your layout, and then follow it, you know. And so that would kick me out, which is the person that's reading through all of the literature that belongs to that vehicle, all those original manufacturer repair procedures and suggestions and position statements on whether to use this primer or this sealant, all of that I have to fucking put in time that no one's paying me to fucking do, to read. AI could do it in that, and then so I just have to basically, at that point, I'm more of a project manager. And so I'm excited for that. Although, you know, there's some downsides, because in our industry, the bad guy is the insurance company, and we're the good guys, quote unquote. And so obviously, insurance company will use it to cheap out on what we want to charge. It's a tug of war. You know, they're doing their job. So that's how I would use it. Basically, make sure we don't miss anything that's crucial. You know, you don't want to miss an airbag deployment sensor. You forget to put it on or whatever, and then they get T-boned and the airbags don't deploy. You know, it's heavy on your conscience. So
for sure,
and you get sued. So. Both things.
Yeah.
So that's probably where it would apply, I think.
For sure. And just for someone who has, maybe they were like on a certain path, right, and they got thrown like a crazy curveball by life. I mean, which you very well experienced, you know. Just given through what you've been through and what you've been able to overcome, what is some advice you'd give to someone who might be going through the same thing, you know?
All these stresses and pressures and that we put on ourselves, you know, that make it seem like if I don't do this, if I don't, or my world's coming to an end because of this. Maybe I lost my job, or maybe like whatever it is. Like, you can always pack up and leave. You can always restart. You can always, and really, it's like the if you're like unhappy with your life for whatever reason, or you're doing fine and life throws you a curveball, like, it just takes time and taking the first few initial steps, and then before you know it, it's been a year or 6 years, and life has moved on. So just not wallowing in your discomfort or sorrow for too long, because like it's only your mindset that keeps you there. Because yeah, I mean, if you like let's say you stop paying the rent on this house because whatever, and they come and they kick your ass out, like, and you're forced to you go, whatever, you move upstate for whatever reason, you start over there, like that's then you're starting with nothing. But if you just wake up and go and fucking get a job or this or that, and like a year from that point, you're gonna have a whole different life than the day you started with nothing, and then 5 years from there, maybe now you're established, and so just moving. And a lot of times we hold ourselves from like changing things up because we fear that, like, what if I this and that. Like, I know people who've filed bankruptcy and then are I know them now, I'm sure when they filed, they were fucking in shambles, but they're fine now. So I think the main thing is just keep moving, have a plan, and don't wallow in what's been, because you're just gonna you're not gonna leave any, the cliche shit, you're not gonna like leave any room for the future if you're like consistently like here thinking about the past and stuff. So sure. I think that's been the key to my at least attitude.
Amazing, man. Well, dude, that's episode 48 with Juan Gandara. Amazing story, man. And hopefully we get to, once your next fight is coming up, we'll be there in full support, bro. And
appreciate that.
Yeah, bro. Where can people support you and find you on Instagram?
Yeah, I got my personal stuff. It's my name, Juan Gandara _Jr. I got my business pages. You can find them there at that. That's my Instagram. I'm on Facebook. My name. My shop is Gandara's Auto Body. It's in the Northeast here in El Paso. We do collision repair, mechanical repair, custom work, upgrades, modifications, anything you want. Vehicle alignments, wheels, anything. Do I do anything else? No, that's about it. So let me know if you guys need anything. And also, I train at Elite Kickboxing Academy. Come out for your free trial week to check us out. 10 Planet Jiu-Jitsu is my spot for Jiu-Jitsu if you're into that. But there's a ton of cool places at the in El Paso. Zen is my second home on the west side. City Wolves has great coaches and an awesome facility. Excuse me. In the Northeast, Grind has a great coaching. So if you're interested in getting in shape, martial arts, there's plenty to choose from here.
Hell yeah. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate
your time.
Thank you, brother.
It was a pleasure, brother.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.